Hey everybody, Mark Edward Lewis here from cinemasound.com. Today we're going to talk about a question we get all the time, which is what lavalier system should I use? And, it's sort of like asking, well, how long is a piece of string? It depends on how you're going to use it. Let's jump into this question right now. So what lavalier system should we use? Well, a lot of times the best sounding and highest value systems are wired lavalier systems, something where the microphone has a really long cable and then terminates in an adapter of some kind. And that adapter is 3.5 millimeters, XLR, whatever it is, and usually requires phantom or plug-in power of some kind. Now, the issue with these, obviously, is there's a big long wire, so nobody's running around, but it is great for interviews. The other issue is that because the cable is usually a cheap cable and isn't shielded and is usually long, there's noise involved, and sometimes you'll pick up stray EMF fields and all kinds of stuff like this. So, it's not the norm, but if you just need something down and dirty and cheap that sounds pretty good, a wired system is going to be great. Otherwise, wireless is always the way to go. And there's almost never a time for the rest of your life as an independent media creator that you're not going to need or have value in having a wireless microphone system. Well, what wireless should we get then? Well, the first thing we need to say is make sure we're not in any kind of jeopardy of legal issues around 700 or 600 megahertz or wherever the law in your area is keeping us from being able to use systems in any particular frequency range. In America, it's a no-no from 600 megahertz all the way up to 800 megahertz. That leaves us basically the consumer band of 2.4 and above gigahertz and 500 megahertz and also 200 megahertz in the hundreds of megahertz zone. So the 200 megahertz zone, let's talk about that for a second. This is your consumer lavalier systems. Very inexpensive, usually between $50 to $100 a channel. Saramonic makes an excellent system that has noise canceling built in, a really great sounding microphone. The transmitter and receivers are a little large, but again, for $99 a channel, that means for $500 you can have 5 channels of wireless, and as long as you don't go outside of 20 feet, 25 feet, and it's good, that's pretty great. So if that's a 200 megahertz band, and there's not a lot of use there, especially like if you've got a lot of this kind of wireless band going on, and you're at a conference center or near a police station, there's not a lot of people using that band. So you're pretty free from having to worry about people jumping your channels. Next would be the 500 megahertz band, and that is where, again, Saramonic excels with the UW Mic9 and UW Mic15 products, which, you can get 2 channels for basically less than $400, and they're really great sounding, really great feeling, run on AA batteries. I mean, just everything that you want out of a wireless system, and you can get 2 transmissions into 1 receiver, so 1 box with the split out, which is super, super great. And then from there, we jump all the way up to the 2.4 gigahertz zone, where you've got folks like Rode, Sennheiser, and again, Saramonic. A bunch of people are in that zone. The issue with 2.4 gigahertz, though, is that it's a widely used thing. So, your router, most consumer electronics are 2.4 gigahertz. You're going to have some interference. You have a limited channels in that area. You don't just have like hundreds. Like, for example, the UW Mic9 system has 96 channels in that 500 megahertz zone, whereas you only get 8, 10, 12 at 2.4 gigahertz. So you're going to hit some interference issues. In fact, my Rode filmmaker kits that we use, we almost can't use at NAB or any kind of big trade show where there's a lot of that wireless stuff going on. It just can't connect. And then, of course, above that, you've got the 5+ gigahertz zone, not really in wide use, again, except for Saramonic that have some beautiful HD, the Blink500 systems that they have. So you got to make your choice. To me, if you're in that 500 megahertz zone, it's not really widely used. Very unlikely that the cell phone companies are going to want to use those bands because they don't that particular wavelength of frequencies doesn't go around mountains like cell phone companies need. And you should be good. And there's some really wonderful, inexpensive opportunities there. So what microphone types would you use? Well, if you're going to do 500 megahertz, then you're really in the Saramonic zone. There's some great alternatives, but nothing that brings the kind of value, sound, or features as that Saramonic UW system, either the 9 or the 15. If you're in the 200 megahertz zone, again, to me, it's Saramonic. Audio-Technica has some great solutions there, but for $99, noise canceling microphones, it's just really great stuff. In the 2.4 gigahertz band, there's a ton of competition. The Rode Filmmaker Kit is an excellent system. as is the Sennheiser systems. I mean, that's kind of where everybody's landing to try to get away from the cell phone issues, which is smart, right? But again, you've got an issue there with everybody outside of pro audio also uses 2.4 gig. So what's the advantage then that we might have? Well, if you're doing run and gun and you're like, I just don't have time to mic somebody up, I just got to shoot, and you're using an on-camera microphone. Well, the big industry blowing away situation that's new as far as the printing of this video is the Saramonic Blink500 system, where you just clip the transmitter onto somebody. It has a microphone built in, can use a lav as well, it comes with it. 2 channels can be put on 2 different talent, bang, in seconds, all comes back to a single receiver that sums it, and you can run that into your camera, into your phone, into your recorder, your mixer, whatever, no problem. And they're really, really affordable. You know, for less than $400, you can have yourself 2 channels of wireless at 2.4 that you can just drop onto people and have sound great. It kind of solves the big issue that we've always had with ENG and reality and run and gun, where we just have to have a microphone on a camera, which is like, ugh, do we really want to do that? Not really if we don't have to. So the Blink500 system is what I'd suggest there. And then if you're up in the 5 gigahertz zone, first of all, I don't think you need to be there because there's some great solutions in the 2.4 gigahertz and the 500 megahertz and the 200 megahertz zone. But if you're like, no, I just want to get away from everybody, well, again, you're going to be spending some more money to be up there. The price points are a lot higher for really the same value. But if you're like, no, I just have to have it, well, I'm going to send you back to Saramonic and their Link 5 systems that they have up there. They have the 2 kinds of systems right now. One that does the same kind of thing where the transmitter comes to multiple transmitters come to one receiver, but in this case, 3 transmitters come to one receiver, which is crazy amazing. And then they have a high definition Link 5 system that sounds pretty great. That's kind of your wireless situation. I mean, again, you can always go with the super expensive brands, but for wireless, it's you don't get what you pay for. You can spend, go with a Sony system, the UWP system, and great stuff. But at $900 a channel, are you really getting the value that you want as an independent media creator? Where for $400, you could get 2 channels. Right? So, is it a little noisier? Are the Saramonics a little noisier than the Sonys or the Sennheisers? Yes. I mean, the G3 from Sennheiser, the Sony UWP, I mean, you're talking about pretty top of the line stuff. Unless you're talking about Zaxcom, which is, what is it, $3,000 a channel? Yeah. But are you getting $3,000 worth of value? Are you getting $900 worth of sound in comparison to what in essence is $200 a channel with the UW Mic9s? No way. Especially with the advent of some simple noise reduction. If you're using Adobe Audition or RX, you're done. And you've got money to spend on either more microphones or recorders or whatever. So don't be fooled by, high and lofty channel price, per channel price. I mean, nothing wrong with Sonys or Sennheisers. I mean, obviously they're great, but do we really want to spend all our money on something that, unless you're doing it professional. If you're like, hey, I do this all day, every day, I'm a recordist. Well, you got to have G3s. You got to have UWPs. You got to have them. You can't not. People won't hire you if you don't have them. It's like saying, I don't have a Sennheiser 416 shotgun microphone. You don't. Well, you got to. But after that, after you get the required gear and you need to expand, expanding in a more inexpensive and higher value fashion is usually a better idea. Hopefully, this has been helpful for you. And if so, please subscribe to this channel here. And come visit us at cinemasound.com, where we have hundreds, if not thousands, of articles and videos to help you get that unfair competitive advantage in the Hollywood and multimedia marketplace as an independent media producer. Until then, we'll see you on set.
Even if it's where you're stuck.